Welcome to the Lassoing Leadership Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason Rogers.
And I am your other co-host, Garth Nichols. And this is season 2 of this podcast. And we're diving into individual episodes, the hit TV series Ted Lasso, to learn more about how to lead in what we like to refer to as a better, kinder, more compelling way. And we've created this podcast out of our love of learning, leadership, lasso, and even soccer, football in general.
Yeah, I think we're getting into it here, Garth. I can't wait for the local seasons to kick up. And I would add to that, not only do we love learning, leadership, and Lasso, we love our listeners. And it's been so fun to connect with them. We're going to get to that a little bit later in this episode. But one of our big learnings for us personally and professionally in season 1 was we have our own blind spots. So you can look forward to more guests to help us expand our perspective on leadership. We aim for no more than 20 minutes per episode, where we talk about our favorite characters of the episode, leadership nuggets of gold. We also take a stab at renaming each episode. I'm looking forward to this one, Garth, just for fun. And then we leave you with a leadership challenge based on our learnings.
Yeah, and in each episode, we do love to hear what our listeners are saying. So, Jason, what have you heard so far?
Okay, so seriously, this true story. It was minutes after we posted the Beard After Dark episode. And one of our previous guests, Dr. Keith Vandermeer, called me and said he needed to talk. I wasn't sure if it was like personal or if it was about the podcast, but it turns out it was about the podcast. And he said, you and Garth are pretty good on there, but you missed one really important thing. Right? Imagine. And so I was looking for a correction or something like that, but no, he just added to it. What he said was that leadership is not just about the lessons we learn in practice, but it's all of the things that happen around our leadership that help inform us as humans and as leaders. And so as we have a look into the lives, the Christmas episode and the Beard episode, which, you pointed out so cleverly that are orphaned, we actually get an equally impressive perspective on who these people are and what makes up their leadership. And so we don't think about when we're just in our office. We think about when we're at home, when we're at sport, when we're with our family. How do these things inform us as leaders? And so, Keith, great job. Thank you. And your episode, Extreme Ownership, is still number 5 on our top 10 list. And you might actually make the MVP list when we bring our other guests back. What do you think of that, Garth?
Yeah, shout out to Keith. Yeah, it's a great point. And it makes me think that sometimes we hear of leaders separating themselves from their personal lives. I don't know that it's even possible, but I really like this, that we are not just shaped by the forces that act on us within our job, but forces that are acting on us outside as well.
Yes.
And I think we do say this in the episode. It's really important to understand, or we've said it in a past episode, it's important to understand that you are leading people who are full people. They have full lives outside of what you experience with them. And that's why I really like these orphan episodes. They add depth and meaning to that. And I was an English major, and I do love a good Shakespeare. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern is an amazing movie. And it's like, it actually brings to life what Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are doing when they come in, and like whenever they leave a scene, it follows them. And it's a funny reminder that people have lives when they're not on stage. People have lives when they're not in front of us. To keep that in mind. So Keith, thanks so much for that feedback. I love it.
Hey Garth, while you're talking about Shakespeare, my dad actually is talking to me now about the episodes again, and he thought it was about Taming of the Shrew. So I don't know that much about Taming of the Shrew, but I'll shout out to my dad. Thanks for listening again. You're back, and I am looking into Taming of the Shrew. So Garth, what are you hearing from your friends and neighbors about our shows?
So I'll highlight a very close friend and colleague of mine, Tracy Foucher. She is an OG listener. She works just north of the city, Holy Trinity School. And she's the assistant head there. And she is someone who really leans into, leading in a kinder, more compassionate, more compelling way. She's taken up the leadership challenge from a couple of episodes. And I really appreciate her reaching out. And she said, she's created her own that she's aiming to take a stab at. And she's incorporating coaching practices. She's incorporating and integrating the 3 C's of the 3 C's of leadership: communication, collaboration, and commitment. And she's doing a little bit more than that too. So Tracy, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on the show. We'd love to talk more about where this is going, because you are an amazing leader. I learn a lot from you. So if you're up for it, Tracy, let's have you on the show.
Keith, Barry, and Tracy, we see you. Thanks for listening. Thanks to everybody out there who continue to listen. Now, Garth, let's get right into this episode. I love this episode. There's so deep, so many things going on. Why don't you get us through it in 30 seconds, and then let's break it down from there.
All right, sure thing. So in this episode, which is called No Weddings and a Funeral, it's a really interesting episode. Rebecca and Sam's secret relationship continues until her father's funeral, which prompts personal revelations. And in the end, it is the end of their relationship. Jamie confesses his love to Keely, and Rupert manipulates his ownership of Richmond Football Club. So that's basically the crux of it. But Jason, there's so much to dive into. I want to start by asking, who was your favorite character?
First of all, your great recap, and the characters win this episode. I think we see just incredible depth across the cast and how they bring it. I mean, Sudeikis absolutely shines in this episode, showing so much vulnerability, so much, real human in it. And so it's tough to pick, honestly. But I hate to break the tradition, so we're going to go with Roy Kent. No surprises here. But it's been a couple podcasts since I've had a chance to talk about my favorite man, Roy Kent, because, he really wasn't in Beard's episode, and we had Carducci last week. And so, what I see here is the continued evolution of Roy Kent. Early on, he jokes with Keely about the funeral. And honestly, this is a natural human reaction when we don't know how to react. Sometimes we try to make light of it, and he does that. But you see him reflecting. There are quiet moments throughout this episode where you can see him sitting back, particularly at the funeral, thinking about what's going on and the gravity of it all. And, in the end, he apologizes. And he reflects on his own immaturity and why he behaved that way. So not only does he say sorry, he says, hey, listen, I'm sorry. And I did this because of his own personal trauma. And he uses two really powerful leadership words. Garth, do you remember what they are?
Well, in this episode, it's I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's totally, you nailed it, buddy. He owns it and he apologizes. And I love this in his leadership. He's leading in his relationship as well as in other circles. There's nothing more human than we can do than take ownership for our own actions. Even, when we're doing our best and something doesn't go right, saying I'm sorry is pretty darn important. So Garth, I'm super curious because there's so many strong performances here. Who are you going with in this one?
This was a tough one for me, but I'm going to go back to episode 1 of this podcast. I'm going back to Jamie Tartt.
Yeah,
I love him in this episode. You can see just in the way that he is holding himself and the way that he is using his language in this episode. So for me, it has to be Jamie. He says, he says to Keely, I understand. And he contextualizes what he's going to say. And he says, I would just hate myself if I didn't say the truth, that he came back for Keely, to be the kind of man that Keely always knew he could be. And for me, the Jamie character line, the storyline, the development of the character becomes like fully complete here. Almost 2 seasons, but I just want to say that he was my favorite right from the start because of this moment, because of who he becomes. Kind of makes me wish I stuck with him all through the entire show like you have with Roy, but there you go.
You know what I think's really interesting in all this, Garth, is as he's developed, he's teaching us what it means to say the important things in our lives. And I think as we think about ourselves, there's no sense in leaving the positive back. If you're thinking of somebody and you want to say thank you, or you've got something positive in your mind around somebody, I think it's a real disservice to your organization, to yourself, to the other person, to the world, to hold back and actually share those positive thoughts. And I think sometimes we do that because I don't know why we do it. I actually have no idea why we hold back on that. But anyways, I encourage everybody to get out there and say thank you to somebody that you value.
Because sometimes that's being vulnerable to someone. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Not an easy thing to do. Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into the leadership lesson, Garth. There's many in here. I'm so curious to hear what you saw.
Okay, so what I saw was a lot of reflection.
Sure.
And what I saw a lot of was, every character was reflecting on their lives, and death can do that. Death can bring things into clarity, establish priorities, really make you think deeply about, who you are and where your life's been, where it's going. And so for me, leaders have to make the time and effort to reflect on, as Rebecca says, to figure out why some things or some people scare them, why some things are or are not good for them. I think leaders need to be human. And we learned this from guests like Dr. Armstrong, Dr. Kathy Bishop.
Yeah.
These guests remind us about taking some time for others and time for yourself too. So one leadership strategy that I really like is scheduling some reflection time into your busy calendars. Like I'm heading into a bit of a leadership challenge here, Jason, but hear me out.
Yeah, let's have it.
Calendars can be a bit of a prison. They can work against creativity and time for reflection, and just they can be like, go, 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 do. But I really think that leaders need to own their calendar and make some time for themselves during the workday. So we're right now in like budget season, and I actually use that as a reflection time. With my team. So I reflect on the budget. I ask them reflective questions on the budget as well. Do you ever do anything like that with your calendar? Do you have that practice?
Yeah, Garth, I'm glad you asked actually, because in fact, 10 years ago, I heard a quote from the leadership guru, Tom Peters. So, pick up any of his stuff. It's so pithy, as you would say, Garth. It's to the point. And what I remember is a quote from his is, "You are your calendar." And in fact, that moment, I couldn't help but to think more about my calendar and who I was as a result of it. So I went through a whole calendar audit. I looked back actually over 18 months and started to codify all of the time that I was spending in an attempt to get a sense of who I was.
Yeah.
It was really interesting.
What did you find out?
Well, I found lots of things, and I'll be brief here, not to bore our listeners, but the big takeaways were this. One, I was doing emails throughout the day, and they're really consuming my whole day. There was no dedicated space to deal with that type of communication. I was spending less than 5% of my time with parents and students, and I really think that's important in all of our roles to think about where we're spending time with parents and students. 5% is just not enough. And the majority of my time was sopped up in meetings and not out with people, and that's where I'd prefer to be.
Yeah. So what changed?
Well, I started block time. I started block time to deal with my emails, like a real focused time to deal with emails that I'm not on my mind all the time. So it was helpful. I found ways into the student and parent circles. So whether it was parent coffee talks or running Ascent leadership sessions for students and being in the student community. And I started to research on how to be more efficient with meetings, and it all seemed to work out. Now I have blocks in my calendar for things such as being curious, which I always sit down, read an article, listen to a podcast, read a book. For looking at strategy, which I didn't have previously, and thinking about strategy, blocking off time. And most importantly, I have a block in my calendar every day, just straight up for gratitude, to be able to say thank you to people. And that practice has sustained me over time. And it was that calendar audit that allowed me to see these things more clearly. And so it literally changed the way I work and the way I live.
That's amazing. And you are an amazing leader. Like you have literally like written a book about it. But there are other books that are out there. Like, did you turn to any resources or books to help you do this, or was it just from your own beautiful mind?
You can't do it on your own. I've got 2 books I'll recommend on this. First one is When by one of my favorite authors, Dan Pink. Incredible book about how we use our time, our energy. So good. And then when you're done When by Dan Pink, dropping into a book called 168 Hours, You Have More Time Than You Think by Laura Vanderkam. And she'll give you the strategies to really do what Dan Pink's talked about in a philosophical way.
Nice. There's something that you said in this, like your leadership has changed. You said it literally changed the way I work and the way that I live. And I want to go back to what I was talking about with Jamie. It took 2 seasons to get, for Jamie to get to where he was. And I think there's another leadership lesson in here, in that we have to, as leaders, provide resources, provide provocations, and believe in people that they will change, right? That we have to give our people, the people that we lead, we have to give them the resources, like corral the resources around them, and know that change is possible, and not just take people as static beings. I think it goes back to what Keith was saying as well. But I really appreciate that. But I've talked enough about my leadership lessons from that episode. Jason, what was your leadership lesson?
Garth, I think I've already added enough, but I'll add just a little bit more, just a little bit.
As you like to do.
Yeah, but if I had something, I would just take a moment and reflect on the importance of self-reflection beyond work and deep into our psyche. So beyond our calendar and deep into our emotional state. And doing it alone or with others. And we see it in this episode. Roy manages to reflect on his own, and he comes to some pretty remarkable conclusions. Rebecca had a reflection session with her friends, before the funeral. Remember, they're having a glass of wine and reflecting. And Ted, turns to his counselor in the middle of a panic attack and managed to reflect. So getting internal is pretty darn important in all of our leadership. Okay.
Yeah. I've got another reflection.
Yeah, let's have it.
I'm just full of them today. You're inspiring me, Jason. Because actually this is maybe my time to reflect on leadership with you in these podcasts. Like, just so our listeners know, you and I don't talk before this recording.
No, we just talk on the air. This is our whole relationship.
Yeah, it's pretty much. We write some notes and stuff like that. But it really is our opportunity to constantly reflect on our practice. And I really appreciate that about you. And I appreciate about this time, and that we've got listeners we bring along with us.
Oh, so good. I totally agree. And I echo that sentiment. But with that, let's jump into what we would rename the episode. This episode is originally titled No Weddings and a Funeral, but I'm going to rename it When It's Time to Say Sorry. Because after all, timing is everything in our work, whether it's managing our schedules, being with others, unpacking our own issues, or apologizing to others. So that's all I got for you today, Garth. When it's time to say sorry.
That's great.
What about you? I can't.
Well, for our listeners who haven't seen this, there's great music in every episode, but in this, there is a song in this one, which is amazing. So I'm going to rename this song Rick Roll and Reflect. If you don't know that reference, then this is a shout out to the main song of this episode and how it was used to really cause reflection and connection throughout. So I think that's Rick Roll and Reflect. So there you go, Jason. Let's get on with that.
That's so good.
Let's get on with our leadership challenge.
Yeah, let's have it. What is your challenge?
Well, I've kind of given mine already, and you've talked about it. I think the challenge from both of us should be let's challenge our leaders to put some protected time in the calendars to reflect, take some time to consider priorities, even a leadership challenge from one of our past episodes, right? Or just take some time maybe to listen to this episode or a podcast that really is going to make you reflect on a leadership skill, mindset, or disposition.
Leadership challenge accepted, Garth. And we would love to hear what you've learned from episode 10. Garth, it would be great if listeners could write to us on Insta or LinkedIn or even on TikTok on occasion. And we'd love to how they use their calendars to support them in their reflection time. A reminder that if you'd like what you've heard here, rate the podcast. I have good news. We're still 5.0 on both Apple and Spotify. And share it with your friends. We love to see this network continue to expand. And if we're ever going to get Sudeikis on here, and Jason, if you're listening, it's not too late to join the pod. We forgive you for being a little late to the show. It's okay. We'll love you when you get here. We're going to need your support. So Garth, why don't you take us home from this one?
Yeah, until next time, everybody, keep leading the Lasso way. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.